In episode 7, Xonthal's Tower, the players are going to solve a maze, save the princess, the cultist from the magical tower, and fight a dragon. You're watching Lutes&Dice, and I'm your bard, Volkert. So the premise is as follows. Two of the leading Dracolich traditionalists, a dragon soul, Jorgen Paul, and his trusted lieutenant Iskander, try to reverse engineer a blue mask, not knowing that this is a fake created by the Red Wizards, because Severin wants to practically destroy the world, but he can't kill a couple of unloyal cultists, so he has to come up with stuff to keep them busy. We get Iskander's physical description, his alignment and thoughts, the artwork, and then it turns out he's already dead. This is yet another reason to think that the development of the adventure was poorly planned. Because who would bother ordering an artwork showing a living guy when he is just mentioned in a book and dies before the group has any chance to meet him in person? Also, it blows my mind how you can't even show the chapter's artwork to your players because there's a freaking blue dragon on top of it, which is a spoiler, sort of. There's a lot of nice content in the book, but it would be so much more usable if the chapters were a lot more open-ended. Instead, the authors are basically telling us a story. This is where Iskander was waiting for pursuers, and then he killed some, and then he got injured, and then he walked all the way to the time chamber and died here, holding the mask. There are so many specifics in this, while it could have easily incorporated a chill sandbox vibe of the other books like Out of the Abyss or Curse of Strahd. Back when I was running this, it was my first published adventure, and I can say that only after I ran a few more I could tell what's exactly wrong with it, besides the overall story, the general game design. This is just my opinion, and it might be oversimplified for the sake of making my point, but here's how I would describe the problem of the game design in Tyranny of Dragons and how to put yourself into the right perspective. A good chapter design, in my opinion, is something like this. Characters are described separately in a way that they are given some sort of inertia that will drive them into action whenever you want to press a button. And the location is just a cool location where all the potential action might occur the way you want it to. Xonthal's Tower seems to present this in an opposite fashion, where the majority of the story has already been told, the NPCs are woven into the location, and your party is there following very specific breadcrumbs, which I think is a lot less fun. So the obvious way to fix this would be to forcefully separate the story and NPCs from the location, rewind it a little bit, and then send in the characters. Because starting from the very first scene, the story is really awkward. When Iskander yells from the balcony that doesn't even exist on the artwork over the entire maze, which is hard to imagine given the size of it. And the way he addresses them, heroes. Who says heroes? Also, why didn't he just leave the tower? The only reasonable explanation is he's extremely paranoid, but it didn't stand in the way of sending a message, quite literally compromising him over hundreds of miles. And in the end, I really failed to understand what's the point of all this. Let's read the conclusion of the chapter. If any of the cultists in the tower are left alive for questioning, or the characters use Speak with the Dead to converse with either Jorgen Paul or Iskander, they learn nothing new of Severin's plans. The cultists here are motivated primarily by self-interest. The fact that the Blue Dragon mask is a forgery is quickly discovered by experts at Waterdeep. Speak with the Dead used to contact either Iskander or Jorgen Paul can shed some light on why a false mask might have been supplied to the cultists at Xonthal's Tower, but the false mask might otherwise remain a troubling mystery. Why? So how to fix this? It's nearly impossible for me to come up with exact solutions for each of my viewers, especially when you're in this late stage of a campaign. So I'm just going to voice some thoughts that will hopefully nudge you towards making your own decisions. Here's what I would do if I were to run it again. First of all, the blue mask is real because I don't understand why it has to be fake, unless your characters already have 3 masks, because the mask of the Dragon Queen requires at least 2 masks to be assembled, and without that thing, Tiamat is not gonna come to the party, which would be a drag because having her as a final boss is neat. The role of Iskander has to change. Iskander might be a double agent, like a Harper who has been spying on the cult from the inside, and just recently a blue mask has arrived at the tower, so Iskander contacts the Harpers and the whole thing happens. So why then he can't steal it himself, you ask? Well, maybe he's been uncovered and captured, which triggered some sort of magical distress signal, or he already managed to send the message before that happened. Finally, how about we include Galvin the Blue Worm Speaker? You know, the guy on the first page of the book who totally doesn't appear in the adventure whatsoever, because this is the perfect place. So what do we know about this guy? The official website even has a page dedicated to him. Galvin, Blue Dragon Whisperer, male, Thayan, human. Galvin has been with the cult longer than Severin, and he's well respected among the cultists. Most of his knowledge of dragons has been acquired through archaeology and dealing with dracoliches, but he's an excellent dragon whisperer and thinks very much like a scheming blue dragon. He's also Talus's mentor and sees Severin as a man of great vision and destiny, and thus would never act against him. Galvin was born in Thay. He had aspirations to be a red wizard, but he wasn't skilled enough. He maintains connections with red wizards, and he's the link between the two organizations. There's a secret family connection with him and Rath Modar, the red wizard who's leading the search for the dragon masks. Galvin knows that the cult of the dragon is its own worst enemy sometimes, and that there are members who reject Severin's leadership and cling to outdated philosophies and ideologies. Given that they are brothers, you could possibly use a simplified version of Rath Modar's stat block, or mix it a little bit with Severin's, or just use Severin with less HP and damage and take away his legendary actions, and there you go. It makes perfect sense for Galvin to cooperate with Lenithon the Blue Dragon, and the fact that Jorgen Paul is an old-school cultist brings some dynamic to the story that can be used by the players during the game. Galvin might study the blue mask just because he wants to, or maybe he guards it because a few masks have already been lost and the ritual is in danger of being ruined. Also, perhaps Galvin has managed to claim the dungeon for himself, or at least parts of it. He might have imprisoned our double agent Harper there, and when the party gets into the dungeon, maybe with the help of Jorgen Paul, who seeks to destroy Galvin, they will have an epic fight with Galvin on the cosmic bridge with meteors flying around. He might escape and return later on the back of his buddy dragon. But that's just one version of the development. The key part here is to set the scene, place all the characters, and let the players create the story of their own. I'm going to discuss the actual locations of this chapter in the following video or videos. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.